Genius, Andy, thank you. And we are recording. Thank you. Okay, guys, so guys and girls, thank you so much for being here, our first call. We have on the line 3 or 4 Loopring team members, including Daniel Wang, CEO and founder, Jay, COO and co-founder, Brecht, who more of you probably know from the chats, our chief architect, and myself. And I think that's everybody from the team. We also have some familiar faces and some longtime community members and some new ones, it seems. So that's great you're all here. Maybe this will be a bit messy as our first one, and you guys could help inform the process going forward of what we want to talk about on these. But yeah, we could dive right into it. As a little agenda, I maybe thought a good thing to do is to go over our past month, or now it's already like mid-month, but as you know, we have these monthly reports, these monthly updates. So we could pull that up and go through it and maybe discuss the most recent developments. Of course, right now it's version 3.6. It's AMM support. It's it's the relayer being upgraded. I'm just allowing some more people in as they come in, keeping an eye on the waiting room. Thanks for joining, everybody. Yeah, then we'll talk about what's coming next, like imminently or further out, maybe towards the end of 2020. And then we could turn it over to any questions, comments, suggestions. I know our community honestly has amazing suggestions that we don't always have the time or bandwidth to implement, but maybe this is a good way to hammer home the message for the most important ones. But yeah, why don't I, maybe I'll share my screen and we could start from, is that my sound? I don't think so. Okay.
I think you can make everybody else go on mute if you like.
Oh, very smart. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
How's it going, man?
Good. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
You're taller in person.
Yes. How do I mute everybody? I'm a real noob here, so I don't know what to do.
So click participate.
Oh, mute all, yeah. Okay, I've muted everybody. You still have the power to unmute yourselves, people, but for now, everyone is muted. And I will share my screen just so we could go through the latest monthly report together and dig into some of the, okay. Oh, I'm not so sure it'll allow me to record my screen because I didn't give it the permission before the call. I definitely don't want to kick anybody else out. I will do that later. Bit of a, I didn't have the permission to share my screen, so I would have to reset the system preference. Daniel or Brecht, are you able to share your screen? Do you have that permission?
No, I don't see the share button. I guess Matthew, probably you don't want to everyone to read because you don't have a slide. You only
right.
display the article, which is
that's
people
true.
have to read. So maybe you just talk about it.
Very true. We did. Yeah, it would have just been a guideline, not very necessary. Okay, so why don't I'll basically turn it over to Brecht or Daniel here, whoever wants to jump in to start, but maybe a brief overview of what happened this month in 3.6. What exactly was implemented in the latest protocol version, where it lies right now. I'll defer to them. Maybe Daniel, you could lead us off and say a few words on that.
Sure. Thank you everyone for joining this first Loopring community call. When Matthew proposed we have this this way of communicating with our community, I feel like we don't know what to talk about. So we'll try it, and if people are still interested, we can have more this kind of community calls. Otherwise, if in the future fewer people join, we should try something different. Talking about the development, we have our next version code complete, including the order book based matching, including AMM. So we are officially in the test phase. So the test, I mean the integration test or stress test. So our goal is by the end of this month or somewhere in November, we can launch a beta version on Ethereum mainnet with all the features ready, including AMM, pool, trading, the existing order book based trading, as well as some other cool features like fast withdrawals, stuff like that. So that's our goal. But publicly, we always say probably somewhere in December. So let's see, because our experience is during the stress testing period, a lot of corner cases will be we will find those bugs. So I'm not so optimistic about a launch of at the end of this month. Oh, by the way, English is not my native language, so bear with me. So I think in general we are doing okay, but I want to emphasize one thing. Maybe Matthew will ask me this question or lead me to talk about this, but I want to just make it clear. This is something we talk internally. The other thing Matthew asked me, what kind of project or company we want to be, right? Are we competing with like a Matter Labs or Stockware or Aztec or some other general purpose zero knowledge platform or ZK rollup platforms? We are not. So from day one, we have positioned ourselves to be a exchange company. We want to be a company to provide technologies and products for our users, for our end users, so that they can onboard Ethereum, they can onboard layer 2 decentralized trading, etc. So we don't want to be a platform that built for developers. We are not a to developer project. We are to C, to consumers. So that means, if in the near future there are general purpose ZK rollout platforms, we are open to adopt one of those platforms and make sure our protocol, our DApp, our product can be built on top of those or one of those platforms, that we don't, so that we don't have to spend a lot of time doing everything from scratch from very low level, right? Right now we build R1CS, we use LipSnark. We don't want to waste time building those low level stuff. We want to make sure the underlying infrastructure is well audited, is used by a lot of other projects. So we don't have to care about those. We just need to care about application or protocol level features, user experience. So the goal is to have a lot of user acquisition is something we want to focus next year. But even without those production-ready ZK rollup platforms, we are still okay, because our current implementation will not be outdated, out-competed for at least 1 year. It will take a lot of time for those general purpose ZK rollup platform to get ready. And we are already ready in terms of providing ZK rollup scalability for Ethereum, especially for payment and trading. So we still have a lot of time to do research, to do a comparison of those platforms, so we can make a smarter, a wiser decision, sometime maybe by the mid of next year. So we are not so eager to jump into a platform and commit. So Brad, do you want to add anything to that, or whatever? Just whatever you want to add, please go ahead.
Not really. I think you said it pretty well. So I'm just just as a comparison with maybe there's a lot of talk now going on about optimistic rollups. So optimism as like a testnet with synthetics, and now also with Coinbase integration for their testnet, which is maybe a bit strange, but okay. But in any case, even the optimistic ones, which probably maybe still be a bit earlier than the ZK rollup general purpose mainnet releases, like a couple of days ago, or maybe 2 or 3 days ago. Optimistic rollups probably won't end up being used very long. I think so. Even optimism is like looking at ZK stuff for updating the next release, because in any case, ZK rollups are better in any way, basically, than optimistic rollups. It's just the technology wasn't there yet, like a year ago for general purpose stuff. But it's coming so soon, even sooner than a lot of like me or a lot of people have thought. The general purpose of it. It's amazing how much progress has been made in the last couple of months. Just amazing. So yeah, we'll definitely keep track of that and try to make the best decision going forward.
You heard it here, everybody. Shots fired at optimistic rollups. They won't be used for too long, says Brecht. Some good drama on our first community call. No, but yeah, that's I mean, for me, it's just I basically take what Brecht or Daniel and other zero knowledge researchers in the space beyond Loopring say, and I basically take it for granted now that ZK rollups will be able to outcompete optimistic rollups. They'll be able to get to generalizability, and then there won't be any weak points to trade off. So that's a very exciting direction to be headed in. I guess, Daniel, thank you for the broad picture about our identity going forward, which isn't always easy to understand as a layer 2, as a product protocol. Maybe it's interesting and helpful for you to describe briefly the composition of the Loopring team and the different, you have the protocol team, you have the relayer, you have the products. I'm sure a lot of people don't necessarily realize that. So yeah, maybe touch on the team a bit.
Mm-hmm. So we have, I need to count. How many people do we have? Maybe 20, less than 20. Most of the relayer engineers are in Shanghai, and Brad is in Belgium. Matthew is and Ruby, another engineer, is in North America. But most people here are working on the relayer, and another sub team is working on a smart wallet. It's a layer 1 smart contract based mobile wallet app. So we want to be the first smart wallet app that integrates ZK rollup. The first ZK rollup is, of course, our own rollup. Going forward, we will probably integrate with MATLAB's ZK rollup. Maybe sometime later we will integrate with optimistic rollup, just like a Coinbase wallet just did. So the objective is to acquire user to our wallet, so that as a business, we don't really count on the technology itself. We want user to, we want to help them to, keep their crypto assets, to help them to invest, to make money. And a lot of those features really doesn't depends on the most advanced technology. So offering a wallet to our users, we will probably acquire a solid user base. So going forward, our dependency on technology will be minimized a little bit. So the user experience, user services, DeFi related services will be more important to our users. And I think we, as a Loopring is a sometimes we say it's a blockchain, a crypto project. So as a project, we tend to say to the community that we are developing the most advanced technology. But this is not a good story from the venture capitalist perspective. They want to invest a team who can offer products to the user, to serve their users. Developing the best technologies sometimes is too risky. So, so the product we are trying to offer will justify us as a future-looking crypto company. So gradually we want to be more serious about our business, not just exaggerates how advanced our technology is. We want to be a company that can last for maybe 10, 20 years, and serving our user will be the most important thing. So that also, echo what I just said. We don't want to work on a lot of research. A lot of research will fail and need a lot of funding. We want to be product focused, user focused. Did I answer your question? What's the original question, Matthew?
No, that was very good. That's helpful. Yeah, the question was about the different the sub teams, the relayer, the smart contract protocol, and ZK circuits, and but yeah, I think you basically answered that. Yeah, so as you guys hear, it's quite we are product focused at the end of the day, and that'll be something that I'll mute all just for a second. Not sure who that is. You could unmute yourselves if you need anybody. I don't mean to mute everybody permanently just for when that happens. But yeah, so maybe another interesting thing to talk about, just because I get a lot of questions about this, is, and this could be for Brecht if you want, when 3.6 comes out, how will the migration happen? Either broadly or what could our users expect when is that going to be like December? When will they have to do anything, if they'll have to do anything? The migration, how will that work? Daniel or Brecht, I guess.
Yeah, I'll leave that to Daniel.
Yeah, I think I can answer that question better. So we will have 2 or 3 months, or even 4 or 6 months overlap. So during that period, we are going to maintain the current version 3.1 as well as a new version 3.6. So the 2 rollups will be in production in parallel. We want to give enough time for every user on the current ZK rollup to withdraw their money back to their layer 1 wallet. Because it's fully non-custodial, there's no way we can do mass migration as centralized exchanges can. So if people, after this period, they still, for example, they may not notice our announcement. They may just ignore our social media. So if that happens, when after our 3.1 shut down, then they will be able to withdraw their fund using the Merkle proof, which is a good chance to test ZK rollup in the worst scenario, right? We are no longer provide any related surveys, and they count on the on-chain data availability to withdraw all their money back to their wallet. and then they can opt in the new ZK rollup, which is much cheaper and the performance is much better. But still, they need to make the decision. We cannot. Going forward, we will provide, in a new version, we will provide massive mass migration, but it also up to the user to opt in. We cannot make the decision. So in general, in this migration, the user will have to do something to withdraw their money back. If those the existing user want to join the next ZK rollup, we will compensate some of those migration costs to make sure our users are happy.
Okay, thank you for that. So the questions are starting to pile up in the chat, and we have 12 minutes left because that's the Zoom limit. We'll have to figure out a better way so we have unlimited time in the future. But before we get into the group's questions, Brecht, maybe like something, the thing that a lot of people are interested in, maybe we could just very briefly talk about two things. Brecht, how will AMMs work high level on 3.6? How does somebody create a pool? Who could do it? Which pairs, which curves, like speed round? How will AMMs work on Loopring?
Okay, so in theory, everybody can create pools at any moment, but they will have to pass through our relayer. So it's kind of like an opt-in thing for our relayer to actually make use of the pool. Well, to make use of like extra joins or exits in the pool. So once everybody could actually just create an AMM account themselves, so they can just do the operation, enable AMM on the account, and we can just start using it immediately. Oh, unlimited minutes. Okay. So
it just gave you unlimited minutes?
Well, I think it said that the meeting now is unlimited, but we'll see, I guess.
We'll see. It hasn't told me that yet. Okay, carry on.
So yeah, so that's basically it. It just works out of the box. So in theory, you can just create any pool you want, any amount of tokens, any number of pools. That's all supported. You just have to like process the joins and exits. We have to know which pools we have to do the joins and exits for. That's basically it. But otherwise, it's completely the same as something like Uniswap. For users, the experience will be completely transparent, actually. So they will have funds on Loopring. If they want to join a pool, they just sign a request that they want to join the pool, and we'll just do the transfers from the user's Loopring account to the pool. And they will also get the liquidity token, the pool token. They will also get that token on layer 2. So everything stays on layer 2 at all times. So if they want to exit again, they just burn those liquidity tokens, that pool token again. So they sign an exit request, exit the pool, and get their funds back on layer 2 as well. In all other cases, it's completely the same as Uniswap. So there's like a fixed, for a pool, there's like a fixed pool, a fixed fee that is paid to liquidity providers for each trade. So that fee can be set on the pool contract. So it's not like a fixed 0.3% fee or something like that. That's fixed. It's completely up to either the user itself or the pool, which manages the funds of the pool. So it will be pretty seamless, I think. So if they want to join or exit the pool, everything like that will happen instantaneously on layer 2. So there's no waiting on the join to be processed or to get the liquidity tokens. That stuff will also happen seemingly instantaneously on layer 2.
Thank you, Brecht.
Matthew, I want to add one more detail. So On our ZK rollup, we support the balancer style curve. So the weight of different tokens can be different, which is not the case in Uniswap, because Uniswap, the two tokens, they have the same weight, but in our case, we can make it different. But the first pool contract will only support, oh, no, that's not the case. We can support different weights. The other thing is, like balancer, we can support more than 2 tokens in the pool. So that's some difference from Uniswap.
Is balancer style pools the only one that people could create right now, or also Uniswap at launch, or just the balancer style?
The balancer style. So in one pool, we can add more than 2 tokens as of now. So it's already supported. In theory, we can also allow different people to create different pools with the same token size, with different other parameters like the fee percentage, etc. So right. It's very flexible. But as Brett mentioned, initially we won't create a lot of pools because we want to make sure the tokens in the pool are really valuable tokens from legit projects. We will probably not allow anonymous users to create, pools with arbitrary tokens, because that's kind of like dangerous to the user. We want to make sure the user, when they buy the token, named LRC is the real LRC, it's not something different.
Right. Okay, this is actually a really good point. And before we get to the user questions, by the way, I do think that our time was extended. It doesn't say 40 minutes for me, so I hope it's okay. But Daniel, is that risk just because, is that like the normal risk of it could be a duplicate LRC token? Or is it because on the roll-up, there's extra risk because it could mess with how things work on layer 2? Or just like the normal risk of fraud tokens?
Is both. We also need to make sure the token follows ERC-20 standard, so that the token cannot be burned by the creator or owner of the contract. And if that happens, the ZK rollup won't work, because the zero knowledge proof assumes nobody can burn other people's token when the token is on the rollup. So we need to review the contract code to make sure those behaviors are not part of the token contract.
Right. Which leads me to an exciting point. Yeah, right. So Jonathan, so no something like ample, unless it's wrapped or something. By the way, like, this is something that we all have to maybe decide together or see what's feasible. And of course the team has to see the path forward here, but registering tokens on the roll-up, like Daniel just said, that could be dangerous. Like maybe, we could have the community be like a first type of tester, like LRC holders could have some type of, preference to say, hey, we want this token on the roll-up, because it's not, the fact is nothing is as easy as on layer 1, right? The roll-up does not know about every token, all the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of random tokens on layer 1. Layer 2 is unaware of those. It has to become aware of those. So we need a process. Like right now it's us that says, okay, we will register this, this, and this. We will, and this is where LRC and the people here especially that are on this first call could help in bubbling up the important tokens and putting them forth. To maybe we'll have some type of proposal process, but ultimately it will need to be some team intervention or some like really technical eyes on it, because it's possible that the community loves ample or some type of deflationary token with burning, and they unwittingly put the funds on the roll up and it's at risk because it could be burned. So just to kind of let you know, I get this question a lot also, how will we list tokens kind of permissionlessly? We'll need to come up with a process together, kind of half community, half team, that makes sure that it subscribe, like it's a plain vanilla ERC20 and nothing bad could happen. Or actually in 3.6, we could support non-ERC20s, but that it doesn't have some type of potentially dangerous function. So I'm not sure if you have anything to add there, Daniel or Breck. With that said, let's start going through the questions. I'm going to scroll up and go through them one by one. There are some good ones in here. So, okay, well, the first one from Heisenberg is about the price of LRC, but hey, I said we'll answer anything, so we'll answer anything. So he says, what do you think about the price of LRC and what this is happening in the future? I mean, I'll start by saying we don't think or know much about it. We don't know any more than you. I think, Heisenberg, you're a pretty good trader. If I'm remembering you correctly from Twitter or something, you probably have a better prediction about the price than we do. You know, as you kind of get the sense from Daniel and Brecht, and just if you followed us over the past recent years, we are really focused on building the protocol, building the products. We are not very promotional. We're not very flashy. We make no promises with LRC, right? LRC has a certain utility in the system. I like to say that right now it's a bit lagging behind the progress of the project. Like Loopring has come a long way in the past year and a half, which is where LRC is kind of stuck in token mechanics. So I do think, I always say this, and I kick the can a bit, but LRC has to catch up with the protocol's advancement, right? There's like, when LRC, the latest token mechanics 18 months ago were instituted, we couldn't do transfers, let's say. Well, first of all, the ZK rollup wasn't even live at that point, but like payments weren't the thing. Right now we could support payments. Right now we're about to support AMMs. So like LRC is a bit lacking in keeping up with the protocol. We don't have any specifics to talk about right now about what will happen in terms of LRC. We just know that it merits an overhaul to catch up with the advancement of the protocol. As far as price, I have no clue what that means. So I'm sure that's an unsatisfactory answer, but yeah, that's how we think about it. We do think it's a great tool for the project. It's needed. It's a utility token. It'll provide extra guarantees, right? Like right now, just for people who are unaware, right now LRC is staked by users or like normal folks like me and whoever, who could get a claim on protocol fees, 6 basis points, so 0.06% of all trades settled on the Loopring protocol. Some of that goes to LRC stakers, but also exchange owners must stake LRC as a bit of a security guarantee, not complete security, more of a service level guarantee to make sure you'll do things in a timely manner. But right now, that's a bit of like a BS. You know, it's not that important because that time period for like misbehavior, where a DEX owner operator would get slashed, is like 2 weeks. I recently had this conversation on Twitter with somebody, so it's not like that slash is like an imminent threat to people. Anyways, I won't go too much more in the weeds there. Maybe we could keep that for another call. But that's yeah, maybe Daniel could talk about it.
Yeah, please allow me to add some color to that. As Matthew said, we are not really focusing, you know, we didn't put a lot of effort in improving the token economic design for LRC. One of the reasons is that we want to focus on the product, focus on the core technology. The other thing is really about my understanding, my feeling about the current design of many tokens, right? I feel like if there's no issue from regulators, if SEC doesn't, you know, bother you at all, then I'd rather a token to be a share. You know, you get the token, you get a share of the future profit. For example, if Uniswap say, hey, you got the Uni token, you know, every year you get a fee, you know, of based on the trading volume, you get a percentage, right? That will make me even happier holding the Uni token. right now, a lot of projects want to get around of regulation by saying our token is not a security. It's like a governance token, right? But what if you told the stock market, say, those stocks really doesn't represent the shares. It's just a voting token. Nobody is going to buy those shares, right? So the best token economic design is in the stock market. So I think we are going to insist on the current RLC design in terms of getting a share of the protocol fees. But maybe we will also add something to enable people to vote in a future Loopring DAO. But I think the DAO is still secondary. The primary value capture, that mechanism should be designed as part of the token economy. Otherwise, I don't think people are really enjoy voting. Or maybe only the project team and some really big waves, they want to vote. Small token holders, they don't want to vote. They want to have a tangible, guaranteed income if they invest money by holding the token. So going forward, I think maybe sometime next year we will launch a DAO. We are researching the best platform to build our DAO, but still not a priority. So you will, if you have a lot of RLCs, you will have a chance to vote. I hope you will vote in the future. But always remember, there will be protocol fees distributed to those staked RLC, and we won't change that.
Thank you, Daniel. Very, blunt answer, honestly. It's a pragmatic way to think about it. And I agree, to be honest. So, okay. Thank you, Heisenberg. Hopefully that's helpful for your question. Moving to the next one from Neo Zaru. I've seen this person around quite a lot with Loopring, I believe. So thanks for being a supporter. It says, do you put a lot of focus on interoperability with other platforms? For example, being able to send receive between Loopring's L2 and or SEX, DEX, lending platforms, etc. Do you put a lot of energy / thoughts on this, or are you waiting for those actors to implement ZK rollups on their own side? I think maybe Brecht or Daniel could think about this on the technical side about how these things will interoperate. I'll just preface it by saying interoperability is something like, that's a big, it's a big negative to, if you put your funds on Loopring's L2 right now, you're losing all your opportunity cost everywhere else, right? Composability is completely broken and you're there. You're happy to be there when gas prices spike if you have to trade or transfer. But other than that, you're not too happy. You can't interoperate with anything. The whole space is now learning that, okay, DeFi is going to have to go onto like certain rollups to be completely composable. They'll have to like share, whether it's an optimistic rollup in the near term and then more ZK rollups in the later term. So it's like a broad like industry question. But yeah, in terms of our thoughts and energies, we definitely do think about it. I'll let Brecht or Daniel talk about this, the kind of custom deposit contract design, which means when your funds are on Loopring, we could kind of like in like a wholesale fashion or in like a batched fashion, we could interact with certain layer 1 things. We could say that all DAI on Loopring's layer 2 goes into the DSR, goes into the DAI savings rate, or goes into Aave or Compound, right? Or all this, like there could be a rule, a default rule. All idle assets on layer 2 go here. If we are comfortable with that risk, right? Kind of adding on that protocol risk, are we comfortable with DAI being in Aave? Then yes, we could do that. Then you'll be earning a yield and not giving up that opportunity cost on layer 1. So version 3.6 does allow for the first time us to interact with layer 1. I'm not sure how this works for other layer 2s, I suppose. Whatever, I'll let Brecht answer this. But so for the first time, we'll be empowered to think about interoperability. Until now, we've been helpless. We cannot, but with version 3.6, we could do something, but maybe Brecht or Daniel could answer it a bit more about the specific energy that we'd put in there.
Maybe, yeah, maybe I'll start just again with something that that will be better in 3.6. So next to just deposit contracts, of course, most of the things, most of the dApps still are, all of the dApps that are used are still on layer 1. So what 3.6 also enables is, of course, with the fast withdrawal stuff, is that people don't have to wait on a withdrawal before they can use their funds on layer 1. So they can just do a fast withdrawal, and then they can immediately interact themselves with the layer 1 dApp, which doesn't help for scalability, but it's almost as good. Well, it will be as good as just having your funds on layer 1 directly. So that's kind of like a nice thing to have. The other thing that 3.6 also enables, but isn't yet completely worked out, is just doing general purpose, basically meta transactions directly from layer 2 to layer 1. So that's also something that we can implement in the deposit contract. So instead of having to do like a fast withdrawal and then do the layer 1 interaction by users themselves, we can also just do meta transactions from layer 2 funds and then do a call to a layer 1 dApp from their choosing directly just by signing a rollup transaction. So I think there's a lot of possibilities with 3.6 that we can pursue. So I guess it depends on what users want and how the ecosystem progresses.
I think scalability will definitely break interoperability. It's just a question of to what degree. For example, with Ethereum 2.0, we have many shards, and the app on one shard will not be able to compose with or interact with another app on another shard, right? It's just not possible because each shard will have to move fast. There's no way you can do real-time interaction. With ZK rollups, let's assume Starkware or MetaLab, they have a general purpose ZK rollup platform. So two apps built on top of those two platforms will not be able to interact with each other. They will have to go through layer 1. So I think going forward, when those many possible rollup or no matter it's optimistic rollup or ZK rollup or some other set change, they will attract some developers to deploy apps on top of them. Those apps will not be able to interact with each other across those platforms at all. So I think that's fine. I mean, if you have you want to be a user of the D app, you just move some fund to that platform and you play around over there, right? And you leave some fund on the mainnet or on one shard or another. There's in the going forward, I don't think there's like global universal level interoperability at all. You have to choose the best shard or solution that you want to use. For us, the reason we want to consider using a production-ready ZK rollups platform is for composability. We want to be able to interact with other apps on that platform. So I think that's the main goal for us. Otherwise, if you talk about performance, throughput, or the cost of settlement, using our current ZK rollup, you can get the best performance than maybe a lot of other general purpose ZK rollup platforms, because we don't depend on any kind of consensus or data synchronization. We are just one big high performance cluster of servers, so we can provide the best throughput, the lowest cost. No matter which platform you use, you have to pay extra cost to those validators, or you pay some of their like tokens. So, and you have to transfer that cost to the user, so the overall cost will be higher. So so going forward is really a question of whether composability is a must or low cost, high throughput is the most important requirement. So we have to make that adjustment call.
Thank you, Daniel. I will add to that, like, related is in terms of like other L2s, even if composability will be broken and like that atomicity that we love on layer 1 won't be there, there could be like L2 to L2 kind of like super highways, I guess. Like on the call is Jonathan from Starkware, and it's feasible that we'll be able to go from one ZK rollup, like we'll be able to go from Loopring to Starkware in some cost minimized or faster way, like batched way, validity proven way. But I don't think we'll ever get that atomicity between it. But I could be wrong. Maybe their researchers or our researchers will have a way. Maybe Jonathan has something to say about this. Please feel free to jump in.
Nothing to, no breakthroughs or anything to announce. Just the one thing that I do want to mention is that that I agree completely that optimistic rollups are not working in the same. They're not dancing at the same wedding as us. We're doing something different, exciting of the zero knowledge family.
Thank you, Jonathan. And yeah, Starkware is a hugely important company for the space and for validity proof. Just so very glad to have them on the Ethereum enhancement team, so to speak. So, and thanks for joining the call, Jonathan. Okay, moving on to the next question. Thank goodness that Zoom extended our time, right, everybody? Or we'd be, we learned our lesson. Okay. So Heisenberg had another one, interesting partnerships, which ones could make sense? I won't spend too much time on that because we already answered one of your questions. I don't want to keep other people waiting too long. Maybe we'll come back to it. There's nothing imminent, to be frank. As Daniel kind of alluded to at the beginning, we're less of like a, hey, come develop here, developer platform, right? We have our stack, but we also operate on the top of the stack. So like, I don't think you should expect, which might have been a misconception from people, so it's good to clarify it. You should not maybe expect, hey, big centralized exchange implements Loopring to run their exchange. That might be feasible, right? In 4 years from now, when Loopring has run completely smoothly, they might want to use our tech, license our tech. But just to be clear, we are focused on operating our own products. That doesn't, we're still open source. Anybody could still use us, interact with us. If you're familiar with a bit of the nuances of Loopring, you know that everything is open source. The one thing that isn't is like the relayer, which somebody could still build their own. So partnerships could definitely come, but just to let you know, like we're still focused on our own products. We have our exchange, we have the payment application, we have the wallet, the smart contract wallet tying it together. So certainly there will be partnerships, but just to let you know that we're not like going after huge partners. Like we want to have that relationship with the users and build a super strong consumer internet company around the open source protocol. The open source just is a a nice factor for the security of it and the fact that anybody could audit it and know what they're getting into, but not so much that we're trying to solicit partners. So I hope that is helpful. But definitely, we're still having, everyone is interested in layer 2 these days. So we're having tons of conversations with many apps, many builders, wallets. But yeah, so it's a very exciting and kind of high-paced time. So from Dr. Profit, Patrick, who's a very long-time Loopring community member and one of the largest market makers on Loopring right now on the order books. When do you see optimistic rollups on mainnet? Also, can you elaborate on the difference to ZK Sync, specifically about their AMM integration? So we kind of alluded to some of this already, but yeah, Brecht or Daniel, you could touch on, maybe Brecht, you could talk about the difference versus ZK Sync and their AMM integration. Yeah.
Okay, so So the big difference now, at least for now, is I guess from developer perspective, is that for ZK Sync you still have to write some custom. Well, it's a custom code that you still have to write, even though there's like in the future that won't be necessary anymore. But still, you still have to rewrite your contract code, your smart contract code from layer 1. Well, for optimistic rollups, there already are ways to just reuse your same layer 1 smart contract code and deploy it on layer 2. So even though there are some limitations, it's basically the same code that you can deploy. So that's the current benefit of optimistic rollups. Of course, the other differences between ZK rollup and optimistic rollup still apply. So Starkware even wrote this nice article a couple of days or weeks ago about the capital efficiency of optimistic rollup versus ZK rollup, because with optimistic rollups, it's much less capital efficient because they have to work with fraud proofs, and fraud proofs take a lot of time. So you have to take like at least days until the state is finalized. So it's not as efficient to move funds around in optimistic rollups as in ZK rollups, because just the difference between validity proofs and fraud proofs. So that's kind of like the biggest difference, I think, between those integration between those two, specifically for AMMs. And for the timing for optimistic rollups on mainnet, yeah, of course we are not the ones that will deploy optimistic rollups, but it seems like it's well, probably a couple of months away until it's like production ready on mainnet. But yeah, of course we don't know anything more than you, I guess.
I think the article from Starkware is really worth reading. On top of that, I just want to mention that, you know, from my perspective, I don't want to deposit a lot of asset into a optimistic rollup app before the validators they combined collectively have to put a lot of stake for the security. You know, I won't. I will have to see how much money they put there, right, before I can decide, you know, what's the percentage of my asset will be there. So, so the capital efficiency is not just for the users. It's also for those validators. They need to have money, to have something to lose if they do evil, right? So, I feel like going forward, the turning complete, you know, smart contract support for zero knowledge proof ZK rollup is not going to be a problem. It just need time. So in the future, the developers will be able to write smart contract as easily as they do today with Solidity. So it's not going to be something we have to worry about.
Thank you, guys. I included Starkware's article in the chat on the capital efficiency trade-off there for anybody that wants to read it. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay, this is from Zidon, which I think is probably the same person as the Don, another great Loopring community member. So thanks for coming, Don. Any ideas, progress on DAO governance, LRN holders, and token economics staking changes? So good question. You could tell you're a longtime Loopringer with this one. So we kind of touched on the DAO governance. Daniel said it's something coming, but of slightly secondary importance. For sure, you know, it's governance. We could do a whole other hour call on that. So maybe we'll have maybe topical calls in the future. But yeah, it's on our mind. It's of slightly secondary importance. It's just different, layer 2 versus layer 1 governance, right? Necessarily, there's some things that like LRC holders will never have complete ability to govern, right? Purely on-chain things. A ZK rollup is run by this operator, this kind of off-chain, like in my mind, like this behemoth of a software that is in charge with progressing the state and doing all these things. Loopring, a kind of a part of Loopring runs this relayer, this off-chain system. Governors, LRC governors, the DAO could never, I mean, it could signal to them, hey, we want this, we want to prioritize this, but at the end of the day, this is an off-chain thing. This is servers running on AWS or Google Cloud. So just to be clear that layer 2 systems, at least now, or at least as I understand it, are not as friendly to complete DAO governance, to complete kind of like capture by the community. There's some off-chain component. So it's definitely on our mind. Once 3.6 is out, we could kind of take a breath and in the same time think about LRC updating, like update the LRC mechanics. We spoke about that before. I won't talk any more about that. But yeah, all that is kind of the same question. But basically, yeah, after 3.6, we'll have some room to breathe and focus on that. As far as LRN, maybe we'll spend just 1 or 2 minutes talking about it. For people that don't know, because I want to answer every question on here. For people that don't know, LRN was a past effort, maybe 2+ years ago, for Loopring to deploy on the Neo blockchain. We weren't always as wise as we are now, where we know the path forward. It wasn't clear that Ethereum was the one chain to rule them all back then. I guess even 3 years ago, a lot of Loopring is Shanghai based. Neo had a lot of hype and potential at that time. We thought, let's cater to what presumably a lot of the Chinese market would be using. It turns out it wasn't a great idea in terms of functionality. There were certain technical reasons that as far back as like Loopring version 1.5 or 2, we just were never able to deploy it. It was never useful. LRN is basically an artifact from that attempt of deploying Loopring on Neo. Most LRN was given to LRC holders. So if you staked LRC, you got LRN. So that's a good thing in the sense that like people didn't have to buy it. They kind of received it. But some people did buy it, so they are less enthused because they bought something which is now, for all intents and purposes, deprecated. And so that's the context for everybody here. The truth is, Don, it is on our mind. We are not running from it. We're not scared to talk about it. It is just, there is too much on our plate. We were the first ZK rollup 10 months ago. Now there's tons of great competition or peers. We are so focused on Ethereum and advancing the protocol and products. We cannot, in good conscience, spend any mental energy on LRN if it's gonna make us lapse on what is actually working and where we have product market fit or the beginning of a semblance to that. So it's on the back of our mind. We want to come up with some type of way that'll rectify it, that'll maybe, I'm throwing this out there, this is not a promise or anything, but just maybe LRN could be converted into some proportion of LRC. Maybe LRN could actually get a new utility within the system. Maybe it could do something else. So yeah, either new use case or just being absorbed into LRC. We have not forgotten about it, but we just have not had a minute to really formalize a plan. Maybe Daniel has a few more thoughts.
Yeah. So I have to admit, LRN is the biggest mistake I made at Loopring. This is entirely my fault. So originally we think maybe one solution, if they can be applied on one blockchain, then the solution can be applied to another smart contract capable blockchain, which is, I think the idea is still correct, but as of now, it turns out even the same old Loopring 2.0 or 1.0 solution cannot be applied to Neo blockchain. The blockchain, I don't want to say much about Neo, but it's just not possible to be deployed, even if we rewrite everything with their smart contract language. And a couple of months ago, I talked to the team to see whether they have any plan on zero knowledge support, so that if that's possible, we can plan for future, a development of a Loopring version on top of Neo using ZK rollup. But it's not their plan, part of their plan at all. So I don't count on that platform. We will probably never go back to that platform. So as Matthew said, maybe we want to work on some other solutions. It is my idea that if we cannot make Loopring successful on Ethereum, there's no way we can make our N back. We have to be successful on Ethereum. So that's all our effort. Why all the effort will be put on Ethereum.
Thank you, Daniel. Hopefully that's helpful, Don. Okay, Babu, just a quick one. What was about Coinbase integration? Can we get some details? Coinbase listed LRC. That's maybe the integration you're thinking of. Yesterday, Coinbase Wallet announced that they will support optimistic rollups. So perhaps they'll have interest in supporting ZK rollups in the future, but that's a potential thing. There's nothing else on any Coinbase integration to speak of right now. But yes, LRC last month was listed on Coinbase and Coinbase Pro, which is very cool. A big retail audience has become aware of Loopring and Ethereum ZK rollups as a result. Samuel, have you considered approaching centralized exchanges to accept deposits from users via your rollup? Good question. Yes, we've definitely considered it. As I kind of said before, it is not like our mission number one every day when we wake up to get people to integrate Loopring. We are driving our own products and success, we like to think, but certainly part of that success is being integrated into these big platforms with lots of users. We've had a lot of these conversations, to be frank. The truth is, it's really premature in my mind. Not that like Loopring tech is premature. Like we have been running on mainnet for 10 or 11 months. There's 20 or $25 million in there. It's working. There's 2 million trades settled. It's not like premature that like this is untested. It's just premature. Like the tooling is not really there, right? And I've kind of learned this. I used to be like really gung-ho to be like, hey, every centralized exchange should integrate Loopring transfers right now. It makes so much sense. They'll save money. So it's like a cost-saving technology for them. And it's like a UX improvement for their users. But if you think about it, it really means that like their users have to have on the other side a Loopring integrated product that they're withdrawing to, right? It's not going to be like Binance does withdrawals to Loopring, and the only way you access Loopring is like loopring.io or like rails.eth.link, right? The tooling, the ecosystem has to like support Loopring and other ZK rollups, other layer 2s broadly before it makes sense for centralized exchanges to facilitate that. Otherwise, like it's a bad UX for their users. This is actually worse. Imagine like withdrawing from an exchange using Loopring ZK rollup and you say, hey, to see your coin, like when you withdraw, you're not going to see your coins at like samuel.eth or whatever. I'm not sure if that's his address, everybody, just to be clear, but whatever you're at, you're not going to see it there. You would have to, you have to go onto loopring.io and activate your account to see it. So we need the tooling to be able to make it much more palatable for these exchanges to do that, if that makes sense. So I think it'll happen. I think a lot of exchanges will support many layer 2s. Hey, do you want to withdraw by Loopring, by Starkware, by ZK Sync? They're all going to be connected is my feeling and hope, especially in like Vitalik's new rollup centric universe where there should be an ecosystem-wide push for L2 support. But yeah, without those wallets, without users knowing that when they withdraw from a centralized exchange, hey, where the heck is my assets? Oh, you have to go somewhere else to see them. Without like, that's like the hurdle near term. I hope that,
I actually talked to maybe a director who is responsible for deposit and withdrawal in China, one of the top 3 centralized exchange in China. So the feedback is, my perception is this guy and his team doesn't really know what ZK rollup is at all. So they ask all those stupid questions, and then I end up with not being so patiently, answering all those questions. It's just too early for them to really know this is a working solution. So now they know ZK rollup works, but how exactly it works, they don't know. the other thing is, why Coinbase Wallet integrates with optimistic rollup. My understanding is that optimistic rollup, they kind of like the node or their interface is very similar to an Ethereum node. You can mostly, for example, the Option Labs, right? If you query something from their validators, you interact with a node that is has the same APIs as Ethereum nodes. But for ZK rollups, we don't have a standard at all. Our API is defined internally without talking to other friends. And ZK Sync, Diversify, they have their own APIs. So, if Coinbase integrates with those three ZK rollups, they will have to talk to each team and make sure every API is working as expected, right? So there's no standard. So maybe going forward, we should have some kind of, a group for ZK rollup to define all those standard APIs. So wallets and centralized exchanges or some UI will have a better time easily integrated with all those ZK rollups. So now it's still too early and very hard, time consuming to do the integration.
Thank you, Daniel. I see Alex has his hand up. I'm not sure what to do with that. Does that mean, Alex, do you want to say something? Please feel free. Should I click on that hand? Okay, I just clicked on it. I don't know. Sorry to put you on the spot. If you want to say something, please feel free. Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay, feel free to jump in or type in the chat, Alex. Okay, moving on quickly. Yeah, so Jonathan said like the no ample thing. Yeah, can users subscribe to token lists like Uniswap? I don't think we're like really there on the product side yet, but that's probably a great like design pattern to follow. But I don't know if we have. So like I'll say yes, hopefully, but I'm not so sure if we thought about that little UX feature yet. That's like the token list like Uniswap. Maybe that'll be a great way to. Oh, here's Alex. Alex, do you want to jump in? You hear something say?
Yes. Hi. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you for all information. My question is very simple. But the app is a native app or is only the HTML5? So is natural C for connection? Because you talk about the security problems to ensure the security connection. So only for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So is our app going to be a native app? Daniel, maybe you could talk about the app very quickly.
Yes, the app is native app, but going forward, some D app that we integrate can be HTML5. So we are going to support the integration of H5 apps, but our mobile app is 100% native.
Right now it's Android only. Maybe Daniel, that's another question I get. When will these people, these 27 participants, be able to, like, they say, hey, could I get a beta tester invite? When can we give them the app in their hands for Android?
So we have a plan to invite maybe 200 to 1,500. Maybe right now we already have 200 testers mostly in China. So the next step we have to fix some bugs and then do a translation. So I don't know whether you can see my. Let me see. How can I see myself? Okay. Oops. So I have this. Maybe it's not good that I just show it here, but the app is basically working. We are fixing user experience issues, some API latency issues. Yeah, so basically working on Android. We don't have a localization for English. We will do that pretty soon. So once that is done, Probably we can invite some community members who speak English maybe next month, sometime next month. Let me take the note, and I will try to prioritize the localization effort so that you guys can, give us some feedback.
Okay, good. So hopefully November 15th, if that's the day, we'll do the next community call. Maybe the app will be in your hands. We'll hold Daniel to that slightly. Okay. Heisenberg also asks, is there a course on Coinbase Earn on the way? People need to know and learn about Loopring. Is there a course on Coinbase Earn, Daniel, coming?
I cannot say that. I cannot say anything. I cannot deny our.
Okay, sure. So we leave that one.
We cannot. Yeah.
That's fine. Jonathan asked NFTs. Will we be able to support NFTs in version 3.6?
Correct. You want to go ahead with that?
So yes, but in a limited fashion. Well, it doesn't really depend on 3.6, I guess. So so we have in 3.6 we are planning on deploying our Merkle tree for around 65,000 unique tokens. So it's 16 bits of token information, and so we can do. Yeah, we can of course like that's the limit. So we can only have like 65,000 unique tokens listed on our ZK rollup, and each unique NFT would take up a slot of those 65,000. So we can support NFTs, but not like an unlimited amount. So if some project needs a couple of thousands of NFTs, unique tokens, then we can definitely do that, but not like an unlimited amount of NFTs. Of course, it doesn't really depend directly on 3.6 because we can just, instead of making our Merkle tree big enough for 65,000 tokens, we can just increase that limit and just make the protocol make use of like 1 million unique tokens. And we only have to change like a constant in the protocol to support that many tokens. But yeah, the current plan is to just ship with 65,000 tokens, so with limited NFT support.
I would say simply just say no, because it's never our goal to support NFT trading. Even if the technology can allow us to trade those many NFTs, we won't, because that will, how do we position ourselves as a company, as a market, right? We will probably just focus on fungible tokens. And NFT, I don't think it's time to really focus on NFT before the regulators say, this token can represent your apartment, right? Your car. If the NFT doesn't have a valid, legit bonding with a physical asset or something, those NFTs are just toys. I mean, you can trade game equipments, those things. I think it's small. It's not that big. So probably not the time. I think long term is very important, but not within like 2 or 3 years. It's my perception. It's not my judgment. Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's some interesting stuff, of course, with the NFTs that are currently used, like it's like the ID from Vitalik, like for buying and selling ENS tokens on layer 2, or stuff like prediction markets, which also use NFTs. But yeah, definitely not our focus now.
Right. I guess, yeah, it's a question of perception. I quite like NFTs. I'm bullish on them. Just like Daniel's talking about like a physical, like a digital representation of a physical thing. I like just like the art ones, like, like NFT, like the crypto punks and just like all this art that's popping up on Rarible and stuff. I think Jonathan actually is quite a good artist, an NFT artist. I see him making some stuff and putting it out there. But yeah, Daniel's right. It's like a toy, it's a game, but often the coolest stuff starts as toys, right? And then it's like the geeks that like it first, and then everybody finds out about it later. So I quite like it. Okay, moving on.
Maybe I don't play game. That's why.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I definitely want to wrap up within the next 8 or 9 minutes, just to respect everyone's time. We could go on for a long time, but we'll stop hard at an hour and a half. So just going through NFTs. Okay, Pasha says, can you elaborate on Rails? Who's the targeted users here? So Rails is a pretty cool product. If you go to rails.eth or rails.eth.link, it's basically the DXDAO that designed a front end and hosts it on ENS and IPFS that uses Loopring's relayer and Loopring ZK rollup in the background just for transfers. So no trading like Loopring.io, but for transfers, it's mobile friendly, which right now Loopring.io isn't. So that's the cool thing. Rails is the only way that you could use Loopring ZK rollup on mobile right now. And it's just quite cool to have, like, you know, the DXDAO is this DAO that we are a part of. I'm actually missing the weekly call right now. It started at 11. I thought I would be finished by now, but yeah, the DXDAO is something really cool. They're like one of the biggest DAOs, one of the most like kind of broad in its goal, and it's a nice product. As far as the target user, I suppose right now it's anybody that wants to have a nice, slick, gas-free or completely free transfer experience. If you're doing a lot of transfers, you should definitely be on Rails. Because you do transfers for free. So all you have to do is get on the Loopring ZK rollup. A Loopring.io account is the same as a Rails account. They're both on the same Loopring layer 2. So it's a really nice product for, I guess, heavy duty transferers, or even just for tinkerers. Again, it's kind of like a toy, right? I've sent tons of transactions on Rails, sending people $1 just for fun, just to show them the power of ZK rollup. Say, hey, this is yours. I sent it to you. If I sent that on layer 1, it would have cost me $1 to send you $1. So it's impractical. But here, so it's really cool, and we're excited to see where the DXDAO takes it. There will be more iterations on it, but yeah, DXDAO is creating some cool products. We're happy to be part of it. Then there's a question from Daniel. It's a Hebrew name, but I could read some Hebrew a little bit. So Daniel Tzvi Bar, I think, if I'm not, if my Hebrew is still correct. Do you need new research to do L2 to L2, or is it more about creating a standard for batch transfers? Daniel and Brecht, I defer to you, or even Jonathan if you want to jump in. But yeah, Brecht.
So I think the most general ways to do L2 to L2 is with state channels. So there are a couple of ways to do, like for specific rollups, you can come up with even more efficient algorithms or a different way to do stuff. But the most efficient, the most general way that L2 to L2 would work is with state channels. So yeah, so there's like I think Connext of I'm not sure which project it is specifically, but there's a couple of state channels that are already fully compatible with like with optimistic rollup, because optimistic rollup, like the state channel needs some like general purpose EVM code that needs to be supported. So optimistic rollups support that out of the box. But yeah, it just needs enough functionality on layer 2 to have these general purpose state channels. So even for ZK rollups, L2 to L2 could in theory work between all ZK rollups.
Thank you. Jonathan, do you have a point on that? I see your camera is live, or
yeah, trying to, it's a good thing for the future of the space, but you know, I think as we mentioned before, there's a lot of work, and you know, I think of the XKCD of the, you know, there's 14 standards. We have to make one standard that supports everybody, and then a month later we have 15 standards. So I don't have, I got nothing helpful to add, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good meme. Okay, so wrapping up. Okay, so the next question is from Andy. Andy has been a great community member more recently from DeFi Slate. We did a video interview together, and he's putting out some really good content and getting involved in Loopring. He says, what is the most important thing the team is trying to achieve, build in the next 30 to 90 days? Maybe this will be the final question. It's a good way to wrap it up. I think I'll defer to Daniel. What is the big thing we're trying to achieve in the next 1 to 3 months?
We want to launch 3.6 on Ethereum mainnet and make sure we don't have any security bugs, and the performance of our relayer will be live to our expectation, so that we can have a new rollup to serve our users for the next probably 12 months. So that's our goal.
Plain and simple. You see, we're focused. Plus, getting the mobile wallet beta out. I'll add that, or the testers. But yeah, obviously, like 3.6. If you see me in the chats, I'm literally answering every question with, "This will be solved in 3.6. Why are these withdrawals taking so long? Why is this?" 3.6 just is a huge usability improvement. So I'm happy for all of us when that'll be out. And yeah, I guess. I'll leave it there, guys. So first of all, thank you so much for everybody that came here. We had, I think, 30 something people at the peak. I was worried that nobody would show up on our first one. So thank you for making me look not like an idiot. And yeah, it was really enjoyable. Like, great questions versus like comparing to, like, you know, the AMA, like the crypto AMAs, or in Telegram where you get kind of stupid questions. These were all like thoughtful questions. Clearly you guys know and use Loopring. So like, really happy to have you. Please, like, in the Discord or Telegram or wherever, Twitter, give us your feedback. If this was like a weird format, if you prefer like a different video conferencing software, different format, we'll really take your lead on this. Even suggest like the best time. Like, if you really want to make everyone, please suggest a time. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.